Video. If you remember from last time, we learned some of the basic bits about Illustrator. What I'm going to show you today is just going to talk a little bit about layering and putting your projects together here. So we talked a little before about this window menu here. So if you go to Window, you want to make sure that your layers are showing, which is this one right here. Or if you have them on the side here, you click the Layers button. So right now, every time you create an item, it shows up on an individual layer. So this is called Layer 1, and I can see a little preview here. If you look in this tiny little window, I can see all three of these different shapes in that window here, right? So if I move the shape down here, my preview window changes just like this. All right, when I put objects on here, depending on what order I create them, one is, there we go, so this is the main one here. So this one, this object is on top of this object, is on top of this object. And if I created another object, so let's say edit, copy, edit, paste, I got another one. See, it's pasting it on top. So it's on top of all of them. But now let's say I wanted to start with this guy in the sandwich here. I wanted him to be on the bottom. Now they're all in the same layer, but again, as I create them, they stack upon each other. So I can select an individual one here. So I'm going to select this guy here. I'm going to say Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And then voila, I send him to the back of that stack. If I want to put him in front of the blue one, but under the orange one, I click on the object and I say Object, Arrange, and I say Bring Forward. So not to front, but just forward. Suddenly he's here, and then I can squeeze him in like that. So now I've rearranged my order. So this is great if you just have a real simple design and you're putting some things together. But sometimes, let's say you want to make, let's use the shape tool here. I want the background of this to be green. So I'm going to draw a big green rectangle like this. I'm going to go to my properties window, if you remember that. I'm going to say stroke, nothing, so I don't want that to stroke the outside. And I'm going to fill this color with green like this. Perfect. All right, so now I could send this all the way to the back, but it becomes a little bit problematic. So I'm going to go back to my layers menu here. I'm going to say edit, cut. Right, I'm going to cut that out of there. I'm going to make a new layer. So here next to the garbage can it says create new layer. See that little symbol there? Like that. Put it right on the top. I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to say paste. Bam. I'm going to reposition this guy here. Right? And now the problem is that even if I try to arrange, I'm not going to be able to arrange that into the proper order because it's physically on top of those other pieces. So all I need to do here is grab this layer and drag it like that so the blue line happens underneath it. Boop, there we go. So it's stuck under there. But the problem is that sometimes if I drag it like this and it goes all over the place, right? So I'm going to put it where I want it, and I'm going to hit this little lock icon right next to the eyeball. And what that does is no matter how much I try to select this thing, it will not move. So now I can feel free to move these other objects in the layers without bumping that other set around like that. All right, this is also sort of handy if you're going to do something where you're going to intersect shapes or do things where you want to overlap them. Because right now, this shape and this shape are separated with that outline. But if I were to go back to this layer, select that shape, let's go to my properties, and take care of the stroke on the outside here and say no. Click on this one, take care of the stroke here, and say no. Suddenly, when I put these two shapes together, they look sort of like they became one shape, right? So you can do some really interesting things with positive and negative space by arranging these guys in the right layers. And then I'll also using that layers menu to create one layer on top of another layer. That's all there is to it. So that is very simple and how to use layers.